The Goose Girl. There lived once an old queen whose husband had been dead for many years. She had a beautiful daughter who was promised in marriage to a king's son living a great way off. When the time appointed for the wedding drew near, and the old queen had to send her daughter into the foreign land, she got together many costly things, furniture and cups and jewels and adornments, both of gold and silver, everything proper for the dowry of a royal princess. For she loved her daughter dearly. She gave her also a waiting gentlewoman to attend her and to give her into the bridegroom's hands. And they were each to have a horse for the journey, and the princess's horse was named Falada, and he could speak. When the time for parting came, the old queen took her daughter to her chamber, and with a little knife she cut her own finger so that it bled, and she held beneath it a white napkin, and on it fell 3 drops of blood, and she gave it to her daughter, bidding her take care of it, for it would be needful to her on the way. Then they took leave of each other, and the princess put the napkin in her bosom, got on her horse, and set out to go to the bridegroom. After she had ridden an hour, she began to feel very thirsty, and she said to the waiting woman, "Get down and fill my cup that you are carrying with water from the brook. I have great desire to drink." "Get down yourself," said the waiting woman, "and if you are thirsty, stoop down and drink. I will not be your slave." And her thirst was so great, the princess had to get down and to stoop and drink of the water of the brook, and could not have her gold cup to serve her. "Oh dear," said the poor princess, and the 3 drops of blood heard her, and said, "If your mother knew of this, it would break her heart." But the princess answered nothing, and quietly mounted her horse again. So they rode on some miles farther. The day was warm, the sun shone hot, and the princess grew thirsty once more. And when they came to a watercourse, she called again to the waiting woman and said, "Get down and give me to drink out of my golden cup." For she had forgotten all that had gone before. But the waiting woman spoke still more scornfully and said, "If you want a drink, you may get it yourself. I am not going to be your slave." So, as her thirst was so great, the princess had to get off her horse and to stoop towards the running water to drink. And as she stooped, she wept and said, "Oh dear." And the 3 drops of blood heard her and answered, "If your mother knew of this, it would break her heart." And as she drank and stooped over, the napkin on which were the 3 drops of blood fell out of her bosom and floated down the stream, and in her distress she never noticed it. Not so the waiting woman, who rejoiced because she should have power over the bride, who, now that she had lost the 3 drops of blood, had become weak and unable to defend herself. And when she was going to mount her horse again, the waiting woman cried, "Falada belongs to me, and this jade to you." And the princess had to give way and let it be as she said. Then the waiting woman ordered the princess, with many hard words, to take off her rich clothing and to put on her plain garments. And then she made her swear to say nothing of the matter when they came to the royal court, threatening to take her life if she refused. And all the while Falada noticed and remembered. The waiting woman then mounting Falada and the princess, the Sari Jade, they journeyed on till they reached the royal castle. There was great joy at their coming, and the king's son hastened to meet them, and lifted the waiting woman from her horse, thinking she was his bride, and then he led her up the stairs, while the real princess had to remain below. But the old king, who was looking out of the window, saw her standing in the yard, and noticed how delicate and gentle and beautiful she was. And then he went down and asked the seeming bride who it was that she had brought with her, and that was now standing in the courtyard. "Oh," answered the bride, "I only brought her with me for company. Give the maid something to do, that she may not be forever standing idle."